Hello and welcome back. Today we are doing Act 3. Though before getting there, we do have some loose ends from Act 2 we need to tie up. The last thing we did in the last video was finish the Twisted Child ending, so we're going to start off this video by remedying our cursed condition, for which all we really needed to do was to pay money to these two bugs, and then we were good to go for the operation to remove the witch's crest. And while we're here, just a quick reminder, everything I'm doing here is mostly following a tutorial, and if you're interested in that, you can look in the description below. With another crest unlocked, it was time to go back to Eva, where as it turns out, I still had more loose ends from Act 1 I did not resolve, because instead of evolving my Hunter crest as well as getting silksong, I only got the former. Okay, I am missing how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 memory lockets I'm missing. Most of these missing memory lockets were from Act 1, and unfortunately it would take me hours before I found out which ones I was missing. But through the magic of editing, this will only be a couple of seconds for you. Oh, and while we're here, when looking through the memory lockets, I realized I had also missed a spool fragment. The last and final memory locket, as it turns out, is in the Deep Docks, and just for the record, is actually part of the tutorial for Act 3, and requires passing through a boss battle. Now, since we were in the Deep Docks already, I figured I would just go back to the Architect and buy out all of their wares.
Nice.
And with that out of the way, it was time to get silksong.
Okay, anyhow, let's do silksong. We're binding Eva. Nope, that is silksong.
And with silksong complete, it was time for a rematch against the savage Beastfly, as per the tutorial. And this boss was definitely harder than the first time we faced him, mostly just because it was now in an arena with lava.
Well,
with the Beastfly defeated, we got our hands on its rewards, which was a mask shard. Then it was time to make our way to the Wisp Thicket, which was just north of Greymoor. And since it was nearby, I decided to get the Pimpillo while I was there. Following the guide, I got a bone scroll up north and then headed east until I found this area. And it was here where we picked up another mask shard, before getting another craft medal and then going straight to the boss. And this boss wasn't actually too difficult, although it was quite unique. I quickly found that the best strategy was to go to the highest point you can and pogo there, and then just pogo lower and lower until you've defeated all the flames. And after this, we got our hands on the most OP weapon in the entire game. Out of respect for balancing, I won't be using that item. Anyhow, nearby to this area was another flea as well as entrance to the Underworks, where I visited the Architect again for their core. Then I headed back to the Flea Circus, although as it turns out, I was missing quite a few fleas still. And since the tutorial had all their fleas, it meant another couple of hours of me hunting down fleas I had missed. Expectedly, most of those fleas were from Act 1. And after that, we will follow the tutorial pretty much beat for beat for a little bit of time. The only part that was a little bit different and up to interpretation was the tutorial's recommendation to farm for rosaries at this stage. Looking back on it now, you really don't need 3000k of rosaries in reserve for Act 3. Anyhow, since I was flush with rosaries, I decided to fully upgrade my house. And after that, something a bit more exciting, a battle with the Sentinel, which is honestly one of my more favorited fights, partially because he has movesets from a lot of NPCs that you've encountered throughout your adventures. What a shame, I actually really thought he was a cool character, and his character design's so nice too. Hey, we don't have to kill him for once. That's nice. Now, after that pretty cool battle, it was time for an amazing battle. That being said, there was a pause session before a little bit of a detour, just to pick up on some more things I missed from Act 1 by not being kidnapped and going to the slab. This mostly entails 2 battle arenas, which are kind of interesting, but not entirely that cool to watch. So I'm just gonna skip through here pretty quickly.
Okay, I guess this is it. I was really screwing that up.
Okay, time for this next battle, and honestly, just watch this battle, that's all I can say. Even with my amateurish skill, I'm sure you can appreciate how amazing of a boss this was.
Hey, she's got the willow thing. Second phase. Yep. Just like Widow. She reminds me of the Grandmother Silk, which is why her attacks weren't that hard for me. I mean, after Twisted Child, everything is just a little bit easier. Weave runes of blazing silk upon enemies.
After that amazing battle, next up was kind of a just very average boss. And just because I didn't really have the mental capacity for it, I just followed the guide's recommendation to spam conch cutters. Oh wait, that was it? I guess that conch was a pretty good cheese. Now, the Broodmother's Eye is actually a quest item that you need to turn in for a reward. And speaking of quests, I decided to finish some of the other ones I had been neglecting since Act 1, such as the Skull Tyrant quest as well as the Silver Bells quest, which honestly I just did not have the mental capacity to bother with when we were still in Act 1 and where these would have been more of a challenge, or their rewards worthwhile. And when we were done with all of those quests, it was time to turn them in and then move on to a very tedious part of this game. I am of course referring to the fact that we're going to do Uber Eats again. Through the magic of editing, you'll see this as a once through, but let me promise you, this took more than a few tries and honestly was just so tedious of a quest line. Oh, and the funny part for all of this, at the very end I would realize you don't even need this quest in order to 100% the game. That is much easier.
Oh. Alright, I think we're good. Time to start Wayfarer.
Now, this quest is essentially the trigger for Act 3 to get started. And here's the thing, when I was in the playthrough, I was actually pretty drawn in by the story that was unraveling ahead of me. And for anybody of time, I would recommend looking into the lore of Silksong. I think it's a decent story with a captivating premise. Now, I don't normally speed up the major boss battles, but because we've already beaten Grandmother Silk like twice in this playthrough already, I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit.
Okay, Y to needle in, right? Is that what we wanted? Lace is back! Hey! I like Lace. I feel like if the next game comes out, if there is a next game, they should make it based on Lace. Also, I just realized the guide I used to 100% Elden Ring, it's also made by It's Shatter, the same guy whose tutorial I've been following this entire time. Makes sense. Elden Ring and Hollow Knight are very similar in some regards. The Abyss.
And now we are in Act 3, and once again, we're going to be following the tutorial pretty much beat for beat.
Oh wait, I was told about this. And now we have full hearts.
Now yes, in Act 3, all of the enemies are a little bit harder, but here's the thing. Since we followed the tutorial, in Act 3 we really only needed to do a few of the Act 3's bosses, and can pretty much just ignore most of the small guys. That being said, this first battle arena in Act 3 is unavoidable.
Hey, it's Sherma.
And now that we're at the start of the non-scripted part of Act 3, the first thing I did was take a pause session. But here's the good news. As per the tutorial, we're pretty much going to go through a gauntlet of just boss battles, with only a few small errands to run in between them.
You dare attack my bell beast? I will.
Yay! Yeah! Good boy! You have babies. Good for you. Summon the beastlings and return together to their mother. Oh, he has babies. I'm hanging out with you here with my baby as well. You can call this a playdate. And after just the cutest little bell babies, it was time to do something a little bit more sketchy. And by this I mean it is time to help out this biohacker with his new blue peptide craze. But here's the thing, as sketchy as this was, as it turns out, this was all according to plan, because I now had access to one of the most OP combination of tools and crests available. And you'll see that in a little bit. Anyhow, after that, it was time to return back to the plot. Just to save on the runtime of this video a little bit, I'm just going to TLDR this for you. These shamans tricked you into summoning the void in order to take care of Grandmother Silk. And now you must journey to the deep docks, take a bell down to the abyss, and beat up the abyss to rebalance things again. What's up? I mean, there's not much I can do here, right? While following the tutorial to catch everything necessary in the abyss, I got interrupted one more time by another pause session. Oh, baby awake. Eventually though, we would make our way to this area, where the final battle for this entire game would be foreshadowed. I'm not going to run down the plot here because there are much better videos on the internet for that, but honestly, I was actually pretty captivated by this story. I think it was very, very well done, and the parallels between the difficulty of facing Lace versus Grandmother Silk kind of makes sense with the plot as well, which I thought was a really nice touch. And right after that little bit of melancholic exposition, it was time for the last mobility option of the entire game. And honestly speaking, you won't really be using this option for fighting. However, this ability does make some awesome and very epic scenes of escape, as you'll see coming up. I did have to slice up the video here just a little bit to keep the momentum going, but I think you'll still feel the epicness of the platforming challenge up ahead, after a short pause session of course. Epic escape, let's go. Raid's back, and this is meant to be epic. This E-Ray's back, and it's a different theme. It's slower now, too. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Whoa! Oh, I love escape sequences in like platforming games. They're just... That's what it's all about.
And right after the high of that grand escape, it was time to do some singing. This now, of course, was at the Ruined Chapel, and we are now going to explore a little bit more around this area. And by that I mean we're just going to pick up another crest. Yep, that's it. There wasn't even a battle to get this one. After this, it was a few more errands as per the tutorial, and then unfortunately I had to break away from the tutorial one more time. So what you just saw me unlock was Farsight, and with Farsight I was able to see how much of the game I was done. And as it turns out, it wasn't quite as much as the tutorial.
Completed 94%. This is troublesome, because in the tutorial the guys have 95%.
Anyhow, we will have to hunt down that 1% eventually, but for now I decided to just keep following the tutorial for a little bit longer. I got a memory locket, and then I saw Garmond and Zaza one more time when I was trying to kill one of these void masks, and then I had to very annoyingly go rescue the Pin Master, before feeling immediate guilt at being mad at him for being here because, as it turns out, the guy was just mourning his wife.
Aww. He's a romantic. Get home safe, okay?
And after that, it was time for the Flea Circus.
Oh no. Did the fleas all die? This is so cute. There's an end of the world party.
This party was really fun, but before the fun begins, we have to go east and then up north to do one more quest line thing. Which, of course, we're going to get back to after the Flea games, which we can now begin.
Oh well.
63 is good enough. Now, that might have looked pretty easy, but as an edited note, I can tell you that took about an hour and a half to do all three of those.
Do I get anything for doing that? It's so cute, I mean, come on.
Now, while we're here, I just have to mention one more thing, and that is regarding Seth. For those who don't know who Seth is in the Hollow Knight series, I would recommend just doing a quick Google of him, because I honestly think his story is very cute, albeit extremely depressing. Now, one of the ways you can celebrate Seth is to get absurd scores in all three Flea games, but I wasn't really ready for that. And so I instead decided to pay tribute another way.
That one's for you, Seth.
Okay, and next up we're gonna hunt down the mushroom a little bit, get the curve claw upgraded before hunting down the mushroom some more.
Oh, if it was just free.
Now, there was another mushroom spot at the very top of Mount Fay, but before we get there, there's going to be a few more things we have to do. And by this, I mean get one more mask shard and face off against the Pinstress.
There's even more mask shards? Are you kidding? Alright. Why do I keep running into them? I am running into these things. Hey, pin badge.
And with that, we now have only one last mushroom spot to locate. And for veterans of this game, you know what is coming up. That is, of course, the Path of Jane. And so, after platforming from the coral chambers up as north as we possibly can,
Grandma's arm.
and unlocking this ability along the way, of course,
Well, time to arm ourselves.
it was time to go even further into a very challenging platforming obstacle course.
Alright, time for platforming. Oh god.
And don't worry, for your sanity and also mine, I'm only going to be slicing together the successful attempt.
I only have half of my silk, right? Because the other half is in the room. Oh. Oh, it's right here. Didn't make me. Direction, I hate this. Go, dash, jump. 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 Dash. Dash. And done. Okay, that took a long time.
It was around 30 minutes. He flies. That was almost all of it. Oh well. Friends seduced, sweet promises whispered. Now only the wind, the weaving ones beckon from depths below. Oh. Cool. And after this trek was over, next up it was time to go to a new unexplored area of the far fields, where we were off to a foot race of sorts. It's actually not that bad, I was just stupid for the first two. Now, from this point on, unfortunately, the baby will become quite demanding of my time. And though you aren't going to see a huge influx of pause sessions, just know that it was because some days I just could not play the game at all. Alright, baby's awake. Time to go, I think. This will become a little bit more troublesome because the next place we're about to go to is back to the far fields, where we would eventually face off with one of the hardest bosses in the entire game. And while the design of the next boss is very cool and the soundtrack is simply amazing, the constant breaks I had to take away from the game was not very good for learning the attack patterns of the boss. All the back and forth with taking care of the baby and learning how to beat this boss, I lost a bit of footage too, just in the chaos of it all. So I'm not entirely sure how many attempts I actually took to beat this boss. But luckily, I do have the final attempt. And I'm just gonna play it on its entirety just because honestly the soundtrack and the battle come hand in hand and it's amazing. I think I have most of it figured out, but just not all of it. was almost a little, irritating. Nearby Karmelita, we have another boss battle, and this one was much easier and only took around 3 tries. Okay, so when start off the battle, he does this run thing, which I need to avoid by doing that. Wait, that was it? Surely he has a second form. Oh. He's trying to put me up here. I'm honored. Thanks. Following this, we kept going on with the tutorial where we killed some more void masks. After Gurr and the Void Masks, we turned in those 2 quests for 2 Mask Shards, and with that we have maxed out our Mask Shard. And with the maxing out of the Mask Shard, I realized something on my inventory. With a maxed out stat, you don't get a blank empty slot for that upgrade. So with that piece of information, recall how I was missing 1% of completion from before? I am missing these 2. Well, as it turns out, I was missing 2 spool fragments. I think they're worth half a percentage each. I would spend the next hour hunting down which particular fragments I was missing. And in the middle of hunting down one of the spool fragments, I found Zaza, and he would lead me into a quest I really did not want to do. Oh no. Do I have to kill Lost Garmond is my question. Oh, I have to kill him. I really don't want to do this. I had to do this fight quite a few times, mainly because I was doing it under hesitation. I hadn't looked on the wiki yet, and I was concerned that this might actually end Garmond, and I really like this character. I thought he was adorable, and I really did not want to slay him in front of Zaza especially. Eventually though, I found out from the wiki that there was no other way. I'm so sorry. Oh. Why? Oh my god, why? This is so depressing. Why would you make me do this? After that very depressing battle, I finally did hunt down the last 2 spool fragments. And then, very mercifully, a much more happier boss battle. Which, of course, did get interrupted at least once, but thankfully this isn't as hard as the Karmelita fight. Though that being said, the soundtrack is just as amazing, and the presentation, a little bit better. Alright, baby check is done. Let's continue on. Second form. Oh, I love him so much.
the most camp way of like beating
After
someone.
Trobbio, I kept respawning at the Bellheart
Amazing.
home again and again and again until I got access to the Cross Summons. And then, with the Cross Summons, it was time for another boss battle.
Court of Crawls.
And with the cross out of the way, it was time to visit the last location that I didn't have a map for. This area, coincidentally, is also where we're going to meet the Green Prince, and where we're going to go into another memory. Unlike with Karmelita, the Green Prince's world is much bigger. But here's the problem. When I was doing the Green Prince's world, it was amidst a week of really bad sleep regression for the baby, and because of that, I was super sleep deprived. And to be honest, I don't recall most of the things I did in this green world because of that. And speaking of parental duties, it would be around here where I would pick up a pretty nasty habit in terms of video game playing. And by this I'm of course referring to the fact that I would pause the game at a random location and then shut it down right afterwards. If we're looking at video games as a means of immersing yourself into the world, this is not really great for that.
Oh, baby's awake again. Well, good time as any, I guess.
After that pause session, I did not come back to the game and I shut it down to go to sleep. The next day, I was thinking about how I might have to redo the entirety of that puzzle again, but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that I didn't have to do that.
Oh, I gotta keep it from last night. I wasn't expecting to keep this.
Now, there was one battle arena in this green world, and honestly, it was one of the tougher ones. Though, that being said, in my state of extreme sleep deprivation, I don't actually recall this battle at all. Now, there are a few more platforming challenges here and there in this green world, but I'm just gonna skip through them because they're not entirely outstanding, and the biggest spectacles in this green world were two boss battles, one with the Palestag and another with the Green Prince himself.
Kill him quick, basically.
When I got to the Green Prince, I was honestly a little bit nervous just because Karmelita took me a very long time to defeat. Fortunately though, the Green Prince was much easier.
Oh, this is so much easier than the dancer.
And at this point, in case you haven't caught on, the theme of the game for Act 3 is a whole bunch of these dream sequence boss battles. And with that said, next up we have this guy, who ran with an entire army back in his heyday. One army that we're going to be fighting. The tutorial strongly recommended going into a special state of Plasmium and the Architect build, and I figured, okay, let's give this a try. I was told this was one of the most broken builds in the entire game, and I've been meaning to use it in a challenge of sorts. And this was it.
Alright, and today on How Long Was I Paused For? That was an
And just
hour.
to pace the narration a little bit here, I'm going to be going through rooms 1, 2, and 3, and then getting the shortcut. And then I'm going to be going from the shortcut into rooms 4, 5, and then the boss battle. And yes, there's going to be quite a few pause sessions along the way, most of which I don't actually have footage for this time because I had started and stopped so many times. The videos were like 2 minutes to 3 minutes max at a time, and they really just weren't worth the edit.
That's what I wanted. Well, next level it is. And we skip all 3 levels, go directly here. And let's go. Done that last time. final boss time. The boss is waking up. I might have to go. But also, that was way too easy. This architect build is broken. Our class to crush, our class to rule, our class to save them all. Baby, you have to go now?
Anyhow, next up, another boss. This time a flower. But to get to the flower, we have to face off against Shrine Guardian Seth. And yes, this is the same Seth I referred to in the Flea Circus.
Goodbye, Seth.
And after Seth, it was time for Nyleth, and Nyleth wasn't actually that difficult at all, although I did have to pause once and restart. Anyhow, distractions aside, here's the actual battle.
Yeah, if I could just do that all the time, I should have done that. Just pogoed more. Pogo is such a cool mechanic. Every single game should have some version of it.
And on that note, we are now done with all the dream sequences. It was time to return back to the main plot, where it was time to go into Hornet's dreams. Now, in Hornet's dream, the sequence of events is usually you would do a little bit of platforming, and then you would have a cutscene, and then a little bit more platforming, and then another cutscene. Just in the interest of time, and because this video is already incredibly long, I'm only going to be playing the cutscenes. And so, with that, enjoy.
Oh, backstory time. It's Chibi Hornet.
more backstory. Chibi Hornet's so cute. What if I can cosplay my daughter as her right now because she's so small? Sting, swift and sudden. So she's a bee. Spider start. So she is a spider and also a bee. She's a spider bee. Speeder. She's a speeder. Everbloom? I mean, it's kind of sad to see them die, but at the same time, they did trick me into plunging the world into the void. And now that we have the Everbloom, it was time to go back into the Abyss and face the final boss battle of the entire game. And quell this black ruin of our making. She talking to Lace? Oh, I can move around a little. I guess not that much. Come a long way from being constipated in the Moss Grotto to get to here, I think. Her head looks pretty big here. Almost looks like Zote. There's an ending Hollow Knight called the Void Lord. We're facing Hollow Knight here? Oh, Shadow Lace. So that was gonna be you. You were the hardest. Now, as I mentioned, this is the final battle of the game, and very appropriately, this is one of the hardest battles of the game. And just to drive that point home, here is me dying over 30 times to this boss before I finally got to learning enough of the attack patterns to survive the entire encounter.
Damn it. Did not react in time. I'm losing my concentration here. I am like how does that not hit her as well? From that side. I should focus just on dodging, right? Every single time we hit a boss like this, just focus on dodging and be more conservative about hits. It usually works out. Especially when I'm like super tired right now. Probably not a good idea.
heal up. You got another round, don't you? Where's your next phase? How much worse can this possibly get? Alright, fight me. Oh, wait. Wait, is that it? Hollowknight? Yeah, I got a little bit spoiled. Oh, Lace is here too. Mr. Mushroom. Why does he look so stupid? I think like 24 of those hours at least must have been just like me going up to... Well, actually, no, that is incorrect. I would find this out later, but as it turns out, when you pause the game, like I did, silksong does not actually record that time. But here's the thing, you know who records that time? That's right, it's Steam. And so let's talk about what's essentially the end screen for the game of how long was I paused for. And I mean, you can already see the results screen basically right here. But just in case you were wondering what the percentages look like, this is around 65%-ish of playtime. But hey, that's just the price of fatherhood. Well, this has been a really fun journey. I think I might like it better than Hollow Knight 1. Yeah, you can hear the baby in the background. I'm gonna go help out the baby, and then that's it for the series. Hornet, hanging out with baby.